Hey guys, welcome to MixHax, and thank you so much for clicking on the show. We really appreciate having you guys here. So today what we're going to be talking about is the difference between direct lung and MTL mixing, which is, something that has been discussed, but we thought about, just bringing up some points around what experience we have. Richard, do you want to talk about what's happening recently?
Yeah, I think 2018 will probably be remembered as the year in which we first started to see recipes coming out on ATF and other sites with pod or mouth to lung in brackets behind the recipe. Now, if you're a new mixer and you have a direct lung device, a dripper or a sub-ohm tank or anything like that, you are well advised to steer clear of these recipes because they are not going to work in your direct lung dripper or your tank. These are specifically for pod devices and for the new breed of mouth to lung drippers and tanks. Flavor is generally much higher. So I think it's something that's going to become a lot more prevalent in 2019. We're going to see a lot more pod recipes, a lot more mouth to lung recipes. And it's just one of those things that as a new mixer, you have to be aware of. Mix for the devices that you use. Don't get suckered into mixing a pod recipe for your direct lung device. That's not going to work at all. I don't use a pod and never will, and I don't do mouth to lung tanks either. So I have zero experience of mixing for mouth to lung. But I believe that Dietz does. So take it away, Dietz.
Okay, so with mine, I generally mix for my pods and my rebuildable MTL. Now, depending on which, I generally play with two things. Obviously, the viscosity that I mix at is normally 50-50. And on flavor, I would generally increase it by 25% to 50% of the original, depending on which device. For my pods, I feel I need to push the flavors up a bit higher to about double. So if it's, let's just say it's 1%, I would generally make it 1.25% for my rebuildables. And for my pod devices, I would probably start at 1.8 to 2. So doubling it or just adding a quarter of the original. That works for me. And viscosity is 50-50. Flavor increase depending on the device. The pods, you generally need more flavor. And in the rebuildables, I think I need less flavor because, less concentrates because the coils I use in my rebuildable MTL devices are micro aliens. So they are much better than your standard pod device coils or pre-assembled coils like the Aspire Breeze pre-built coils that you normally get. Daniel?
Yeah, so there's definitely nothing I can add on that. The only other thing that I do pick up is that if your recipe is too complex to start with, it doesn't help. So I generally try and keep it to like a 2 flavor, 3 flavor, like with some enhancers on the side. So like Theo's Bamango recipe is probably a good example for something that will work in a mouth to lung, where it's also one of those flavors like something like that I would increase by 0.5% maybe, or so 50%. So I'd go up, like, say, if it's now I think 13%, I would go to something like 16% or 17%. It's already quite in your face, like potent flavor. So that's the kind of recipe. But the less flavors there are, the easier it is to make recipes for mouth to lung. It's not generally something you want to do like a really complex 8 flavor mix from my experience.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, you can go.
It almost feels like, some of the middle notes are not there. You know what I mean? It feels like you're getting, the top notes, the really, really top notes, like from a bright fruit, or, like a really nice vanilla. But the bottom notes also, you get like creams or darker creams. You get those. I haven't really tried a custard. That's why I think tobaccos works so well, because they generally, have these leafy sort of vanilla top notes, and then caramel cream sort of at the bottom. And it's simple. That's what Daniel was talking about. It's two things, and that's how it works. Dietz?
I agree. I think you lose a lot of the complexity depending on the device that you are using. The pods, definitely, the more complex the recipe, I mean, the less of those complex notes you get. It just at some point gets kind of to that peak where this is all you'll get from it, because there's nothing really advanced about the coils. It's a very simple, very small coil. And if it's compared to your rebuildable atomizers, definitely there should be better flavor. But on the pods, those complex notes are, I mean, I normally mix single flavors. I love to mix Inuera orange and maybe a little bit of WS. That for my pods, it's amazing. It tastes like this super awesome juice that's very complex, but it's one single flavor. Now, in the rebuildable stuff, where specifically for the creams, I would normally mix something that has creams. I mean, otherwise, why waste the time if you're not picking up the note? So rebuildable MTL atties with a decent coil in there, like maybe a micro Clapton or something, or sorry, a micro Alien, like one of Smiley coils. They really work very well, and it works well if you're using a rebuildable attie with a decent coil. Pods wise, definitely single flavors work best. The less complex, I mean, the better. You can have combos and stuff like that where you get 2 to 3 notes, like you guys said, but more than that, I feel for the pods, you're not getting that, so why even try and blend it in? Take something simple like Cardinal. I learned with Cardinal. I mean, I mixed Cardinal from all my MTLs, and when I got the Breeze, I mixed it for the Breeze. It's not bad. The flavor is good, but I'm not getting all those different notes, especially the more I vape it, like I do with my MTL atties.
Yeah, something like a Berserker, MTL RDA, all the RTAs, you generally get a lot more flavor than you would on the pod. So I definitely know that from, because I've got a couple of like really like restrictive or considered mouth to lung, if you put the inserts in, where I get a lot more flavor from something like that, where you can probably then definitely do something more complex. It's not just like a 2 flavor combo kind of thing. Another one that like works well in a pod is something just like raw fantasy grape with WS23, and you're good to go. That you've got like a good grape soda. And that's all you need for something like a mouth to lung, where and I mean pod system, strictly pod system, I think you definitely can get more complex when it comes to the rebuildables. So then you could talk like 4 flavors, and I think you'll be able to pick up more of those creams. It's just that your distance between the flavors are a lot closer. So you'll get like a proper strawberry ice cream, not like a strawberry with ice cream on the bottom and a cone kind of thing.
But it definitely is popular now, right? So, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people moving that way. So, we need to consider that when we do recipes. I think Pippa said the other day, we need to be clear about the heat we're using, the attie we're using, all those things we need to be clear about, because, if we mix this up for MTL and it's made for DL, it's not going to be the same. Sorry, Richard?
What sort of juice categories would you, I mean, I'm guessing you're not going to go for bakeries, cereal, stuff like that. You would go for probably fruits, tobacco, and maybe candies? I don't know.
Yeah, you could look, maybe a cereal. If you do something like TFA fruit circles, which is already quite potent, and you're going to maybe put a cream. I think then Vienna cream and TFA fruit circles together. Just those two. And you'd have like a fairly good cereal. It wouldn't be complex where you can say, oh, I've got strawberry milk cereal, but you'd still be able to pull off a cereal. Bakeries is a bit tougher, because bakeries, I think, require a lot of heat to taste like the good nuances of a bakery.
Yes. Yeah, custard might also, because of the complexity in a custard, right, might also not be a fantastic idea. So yeah, I think tobaccos and fruits and icy fruits, bakeries and puddings might fall short. I don't know. My opinion.
Look, It definitely, the heat plays a huge factor. I will add to that. When I build in my MTLs, I generally aim for a 1 ohm range. So if I can get to 1 ohm, I mean, I don't mind going over to about 1.2 ohm. That's where I prefer it. But I aim for 1 ohm, and that's where it works well. Generally, I mean, when I started picking up on building for MTLs, that was the recommended guideline. I tried a little over and a little under, but wattage and battery and all that plays a role. Now, why the flavor is also better, obviously because of the coil, but you've got the variable wattage that you're playing with, so you have the heat that you're talking about too.
Cool.
Yeah,
Guys,
I think
anything
another
else?
thing
Yeah.
to add is just nicotine. So if you were doing direct lung and you want to adjust a recipe for mouth to lung, I usually, so let's say you want to use freebase nicotine, you're doing 3 milligrams. I recommend just going to 6 and trying from there. You can always up your nicotine, but you can't remove it. So try just doubling it, see how you do. If it's nicotine salts, that's where it gets tricky, because I find 25 milligrams to be quite strong. 15 milligrams too light. So I'm in the middle ground where I say, okay, 20 milligrams of nicotine salts is okay. That's what I've been doing. I've been diluting my 25 down to with the 15 to try and get to the middle ground. But nicotine salts it's hairy. I think it's best just to start at like, say 15 and add in, or start at 10 maybe even.
Yeah,
Just depending
100%.
on how low you do vape. I mean, if you're already a 6 milligram direct lunger, then I don't think you're gonna have an issue vaping 25 milligram nic salts, to be honest. But for me, 3 milligrams, then 20 is where I go. So what are we talking here? Ratios like times it by 5, roughly 5 or 6.
I would agree. That's a very good advice there. I mean, I mixed my first batches. I mixed for my MTL. I was like, no, 12. I heard guys vaping 20 milligram, but later then heard they are vaping that on pods and not rebuildables like I was. So I mixed high, I think 12 or 15 or 18, and then wrote it down in later mixes. So it's way easier to do too little and add later than it is to do a 15 milligram of normal freebase, and then you get to take two puffs and you feel like you're dying. So some might like that, but I mean, there's no part of enjoying it if it's at that uncomfortable point. So it's good to start low.
Yeah, I've got my mouth to lungs at about 8, and the nicotine that I use is considered smooth. So at about 8, I'm getting the like a smooth throat hit, and I'm not getting any scratchiness on my throat. As soon as I go above that, I start getting, it feels like almost like a razor blade. You know what I mean? Kind of scratchiness.
And it stays behind.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. I also find that with higher freebase nicotine, my breaks are much smaller. So if I go on a vape break, I have like 4 or 5 puffs and then I'm done. I don't have to stand there for like 10 minutes and cloud up half of Johannesburg or Centurion. it's
20 minutes,
quick in and out. You know what I mean? A bit of a quickie. Cool.
Well, I think that, like, if you're doing mouth to lung, that's the biggest reason to, is just to shorten breaks or get more done. Although
it's also, it helps between
replacing a cigarette, right? Yeah. Deeds?
Specifically for me, it works very well when I'm at clients. I'm on the road a lot and I visit clients a lot. So, I mean, vape is not new, but a lot of people, especially if you come dressed in a tie and stuff and you're chucking clouds, people tend to take you a little bit less serious. So it's easier just to have something small and discreet, have a few puffs and move on if there's a smoke break. With obviously with other people. So
yeah, fully agree with that. It's just, people just don't take you seriously if you're standing outside your office and blowing out massive clouds. It's just how it is. It's just how the cookie crumbles,
Yeah. This is juice consumption goes down with mouth to lung as well. Something like a 30 mil, I could probably easily do a 30 mil on direct lung a day. And I wouldn't sweat it, but 30 mil would last me a week to 2 weeks on mouth to lung.
Yeah, I'm consuming much less product now, than what I used to consume. I used to do about 20 mils a day. now I do, on my mouth to lung, I do about 30 mils a week. So, I don't know if that's a good thing, or if that's a bad thing, but it feels like I'm doing less product into my lungs. So I guess that's a good thing, right? I don't know.
If my juice consumption goes down, my steep time goes out to like 14 months. I mean, it's already at like 8 months, even on direct lung, before I get to vaping the juice. So less juice consumption doesn't work for me.
So I'm on the same idea. I mean, at some point I was wondering, look, I know it's healthy and everything, but it's still a foreign object other than oxygen going into my lungs. So it's healthy and everything, but I mean, if you're consuming with atomizers growing and dual coils and all that stuff, people building bigger, better, more clouds, 30 mil can last you a very short time. I mean, I've vaped 30 mils in 2 days before. Depends on what the situation is. If you're with friends, you vape more. If you're at a braai or a barbecue, you vape more. So if you do that more often compared to having an MTL, and the majority of the vaping goes to MTL, I think it's still healthier. Maybe not on the nicotine side because you're taking in more nicotine, but then again, that's debatable because it's MTL, it's not direct lung. But the physical volume of juice that you're going through your body, it's less. So in my mind, better.
I think another thing is also if you're an impatient person for steeping, mouth to lung, you don't have to steep, and then you can wait for your direct lung to steep. So you could rock that mouth to lung, make like a 60 mil, rock it for 2 weeks, and actually have juice steeping for 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude, you steep that shit on your coils, dude. What do you mean?
But your direct lung stuff, sometimes I don't want to wait, but I also want to wait. Because it's like sometimes the steep's worth it, but you just need something to vape now, and mouth to lung generally helps with me keeping stuff in a steeping cupboard.
Yeah, some solid advice there, guys. Can I wrap up the show?
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, if there's anything that we missed out just on mixing for these two different styles of vaping, leave it in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching, and we're going to be taking a break for December. I'm not sure if everybody knows that, but it's summer holidays, and we're all going on leave, but we're back in January. I'll be releasing some content which is scheduled a little bit more lighter content about all the members of TFV. So I'll release those things throughout December. But thank you very much for all the support throughout the year. And we've really appreciated, every single bit of it. And yeah, we'll see you next year. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.